I stood in my kitchen on Christmas Eve morning, staring at an eviction notice taped to my front door. An eviction notice. For the house I owned outright. The house my late mother left me in her will. The house where I'd spent the last 3 years rebuilding my life after my divorce. And according to this official document, I had 30 days to vacate because the property had been sold 6 months ago. Sold. My house. Without my knowledge. Without my signature. Without my consent. Before we go any further, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right now because you're about to hear a story so unbelievable, so devastating, that you'll want to make sure you never miss another upload. And please, tell me the city you are watching from so that I can send you a hug. I have a feeling you might need one by the end of this. Drop your city in the comments below. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the paper. I read it again and again. The words didn't change. The sale was completed on July 15th. The new owner took possession on August 1st. The current occupant violates trespassing laws. It was December 24th. I'd been living in my own home, paying utilities, maintaining the property, completely unaware that it no longer belonged to me for almost 5 months. I called the number on the notice immediately. The law office that represented the buyer. A woman answered on the 3rd ring. Her voice professionally cheerful with that artificial holiday spirit people force into their tone this time of year. I'm calling about a property on Ashford Lane, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. There's been a mistake. I own that house. I never sold it. The woman paused. I heard typing in the background. Can I get your name, please? Brigid Murphy. That's my house. My mother left it to me when she passed. I have the deed. I have all the paperwork. I never authorized any sale. More typing. Longer pause. Ms. Murphy, according to our records, the sale was completed through a power of attorney. A Cormac Murphy executed the sale on your behalf. Cormac. My brother. My younger brother by 4 years. The brother I'd helped through 3 failed businesses. The brother I'd lent money to more times than I could count. The brother who still owed me $7,000 from 2 years ago. The brother who never called unless he needed something. That's impossible, I said, my voice rising. I never gave anyone power of attorney. I never authorized him to do anything with my property. Ma'am, I understand you're upset, but the documentation is all in order. The power of attorney was notarized and legally binding. The sale went through 6 months ago. If you have questions about how that power of attorney was obtained, you'll need to take that up with Mr. Cormac Murphy directly. She gave me the name of the buyer. A property investment company I'd never heard of. They'd purchased my house for $68,000. $68,000 for a house worth at least $220,000. My childhood home. The 3-bedroom craftsman my parents bought in 1992. The house my mother meticulously maintained until her death 3 years ago. The house she specifically left to me in her will because she knew I'd cherish it. I hung up and immediately tried calling Cormac. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. I sent a text. Call me immediately. Emergency. Nothing. I tried my father. Finn Murphy. He answered on the 2nd ring. Brigid, Merry Christmas Eve, love. What's going on? Dad, did you know Cormac sold my house? Silence. Not the confused silence of someone hearing shocking news. The guilty silence of someone caught. Did you know? He sighed. A long, heavy sigh that told me everything I needed to know before he even spoke. Brigid, it was necessary. Your brother was in serious trouble. My brother was in trouble. So he sold my house. The house Mom left to me. It wasn't like that, Dad said. His voice taking on that pleading quality I'd heard so many times before when he was defending Cormac. He needed the money desperately. There were people after him. Dangerous people. He'd gotten involved with some bad investments, some gambling debts. They were threatening him. Threatening his family. What was I supposed to do? Let them hurt him. Let them hurt Maeve and the kids. Cormac's wife. They had 2 kids. 6 and 8. I loved those kids. But not enough to lose my house over my brother's stupidity. So your solution was to forge my signature and steal my house, I said, my voice cold now. The shock was wearing off. Anger was flooding in to replace it. We didn't forge anything, Dad protested. I had an old power of attorney document from years ago, remember? When you went to Europe for that 6-month work assignment. You gave me power of attorney to handle things while you were gone. That document was still valid. That was 7 years ago, I said. That was for specific purposes while I was overseas. That wasn't permission to sell my house whenever you felt like it. Legally it was still valid, Dad said. I looked into it. As long as it wasn't explicitly revoked, it remained in effect. The betrayal hit me in waves. This wasn't a snap decision. This wasn't a moment of panic. They'd researched this. They'd planned this. They'd known exactly what they were doing when they sold my house out from under me. My own father. My own brother. How much did Cormac owe? Yes. That's not really relevant now. How much, Dad? He hesitated. About $75,000. Actually laughed. Bitter, hollow sound. So you sold my $200,000 house for $68,000 to cover his $75,000 debt. That doesn't even cover it. Where did the rest come from? I covered the difference, Dad said quietly. I took out a loan against my retirement account. A loan you'll never pay back, I said. You're 72 years old, Dad. You're not working anymore. How exactly are you planning to repay a loan? I'll manage, he said defensively. The important thing is that Cormac is safe. His family is safe. That's what matters. And what about me? Yes. What about my safety? My security? I just lost my house, Dad. The house Mom wanted me to have. Where am I supposed to go? How am I supposed to afford another place? You have a good job, Dad said. You're a nurse. You make decent money. You'll figure it out. Cormac doesn't have those options. His last business failed. He's got nothing right now. He's got nothing because he's irresponsible, I snapped. He's 43 years old, and he's never held a steady job for more than 2 years. He jumps from scheme to scheme, loses money, borrows more, and loses that. This is a pattern, Dad. This has been the pattern his entire adult life. And you keep enabling him. You keep bailing him out. And now you've stolen from me to do it. I didn't steal from you, Dad said, his voice harder now. I used a legal document to access property that, frankly, was partly mine anyway. Your mother and I bought that house together. I gave it to you because she wanted you to have it, but that doesn't mean I don't have any claim to it. Mom left it to me in her will, I said. Legally, explicitly, it was mine. You gave up any claim when you agreed to her wishes. You can't just take that back because Cormac screwed up again. What was I supposed to do, Brighead? Dad's voice cracked. Let them hurt my son. These weren't people making idle threats. They showed up at his house. They threatened Maeve in front of the children. Was I supposed to stand by and watch? You were supposed to come to me, I said. You were supposed to tell me what was happening. Ask for help. Not go behind my back and steal everything Mom left me. You wouldn't have agreed, Dad said. You would have said no. You would have given me a lecture about enabling him and letting him face consequences. You would have let him suffer. He should suffer, I said coldly. He should face the consequences of his actions like an adult. That's how people learn. That's how they grow up. You've been protecting him his entire life, and look where it's gotten him. 43 years old, no career, no savings, $75,000 in gambling debt to dangerous people. When does it end, Dad? When do you stop sacrificing everything and everyone else for Cormac? He's my son, Dad said simply. I love him. I'll always protect him. And I'm your daughter, I said, my voice breaking now. Doesn't that matter? Doesn't what Mom wanted for me matter? Course it does, Dad said. But you're strong. You've always been strong. You can handle this. Cormac can't. He needs more help. That's not fair, I whispered. That's not fair to punish me for being responsible. To take from me because I made better choices. Life isn't fair, sweetheart, Dad said, using the endearment like it could soften the blow of what he'd done. Sometimes we have to make hard choices for family. Hung up. I couldn't listen anymore. I stood in my kitchen, my mother's kitchen, in the house where I'd grown up, where I'd celebrated every Christmas of my childhood, where I'd brought my ex-husband as a newlywed, where I'd cried when my marriage ended, where I'd slowly rebuilt myself into someone stronger. And it was all gone. Stolen by my own family. I tried Cormac again. Voicemail. I left a message this time. I know what you did. I know you sold my house. Call me back immediately or I'm going to the police. 2 hours later he called. Brigid, listen before you say anything. You sold my house, I interrupted. You stole my house to pay your gambling debts. It wasn't like that, he started. Then what was it like, Cormac? Explain it to me. Make it make sense. I was desperate, he said. These people were serious. They were going to hurt my family. I didn't know what else to do. You could have gotten a job, I said. You could have sold your own stuff. Your boat. Your motorcycle. Your ridiculous sports car you can't afford. You could have asked me for help instead of stealing from me. I already owe you money, he said quietly. You made it clear last time that you were done lending to me. So you just took it, I said. You just decided my house was yours to sell. Dad said the power of attorney was valid. Cormac said defensively. He checked with a lawyer. Everything was legal. Legal doesn't mean right, I said. Legal doesn't mean it wasn't a betrayal. Mom left me that house, Cormac. She specifically left it to me. Do you even care about that? Mom's gone, he said flatly. She doesn't care anymore. That sentence hung in the air between us. The callousness of it. The casual dismissal of our mother's wishes, her memory, her love. Care, I said quietly. Cared about that house. I cared about what it meant. And you took it from me without even asking. Without even telling me. I've been living here for 5 months not knowing it wasn't mine anymore. Do you understand how that feels? I'm sorry, he said, but he didn't sound sorry. He sounded tired. Defensive. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has choices, I said. You made yours. You chose to gamble. You chose to get involved with dangerous people. You chose to sell my house. Those were all choices. So what now? Yes. Are you really going to the police? Are you going to put your own brother in jail? I don't know, I said honestly. I need to talk to a lawyer. I need to find out what my options are. Brigid, please, his voice shifted to pleading now. I'm already in enough trouble. If you bring legal action, it'll destroy me. I'll lose everything. Maeve will leave me. I'll never see my kids. You should have thought about that before you stole my house, I said and hung up. I spent the rest of Christmas Eve on my laptop, researching property law, power of attorney limitations, and elder abuse statutes. Because that's what this was, wasn't it? My father had used his authority to benefit one child at the devastating expense of another. The more I read, the angrier I got. I felt more betrayed. Around 6 that evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. Answered. Is this Brigid Murphy? This is Eileen Thornton. I'm the current owner of the property at 847 Ashford Lane. My stomach dropped. The investor who'd bought my house. I received a rather frantic call from my property manager today, she continued. He said you've been living there and seemed to be unaware that the property sold months ago. That's because I own that property, I said. Or I did. It was sold without my knowledge or consent using a fraudulent power of attorney. See, she said. That's concerning. Do you have legal representation? Not yet, I admitted. I just found out this morning. Well, I'd suggest you get a lawyer immediately, she said, not unkindly. For what it's worth, I had no idea there was anything questionable about the sale. The documentation all appeared legitimate. The title company cleared everything. Understand, I said. This isn't your fault. Nevertheless, she continued, I'm in a difficult position now. I own the property legally. I paid for it. I've been trying to reach you for months through the address on file, which apparently was your brother's address. I want to renovate and sell the property. I've already invested another $20,000 into plans and permits. What are you saying? I asked, though I knew. I'm saying I need you to vacate, she said gently. I've been more than patient. I gave you the 30-day notice as a courtesy, but technically you've been trespassing for months. I could have you removed immediately. It's Christmas Eve, I said stupidly, as if that mattered. I know, she said. And I'm not a monster. I'll give you until the end of January. That's 5 weeks. But after that, if you're still there, I will have to take legal action. Understand, I said numbly. For what it's worth, she added, if your claim is legitimate, if this really was done fraudulently, you should sue your family. Not me. I'm just someone who bought a property in good faith. She was right. She hung up. I sat on my couch, my mother's couch, in the growing darkness. I hadn't turned on any Christmas lights. I hadn't put up a tree. I'd been planning to do it all that evening, make the house festive before heading to my friend Deirdre's house for Christmas Eve dinner. Now none of it mattered. My phone buzzed. Text from Dad. Please come to dinner tomorrow. Christmas Day. We need to talk as a family. I didn't respond. Another text, this time from Cormac. I know you're angry, but it's Christmas. Can we please just have one nice day together? For the kids. My niece Aoife and nephew Lorcan. I love them. I'd planned to give them presents, watch them open gifts, and see their faces light up. But how could I sit across from their father knowing what he'd done? How could I smile at my dad and pretend everything was fine? Texted back. Can't. The truth was, I had nowhere else to go. My ex-husband and I hadn't spoken in over a year. My friends were all with their own families. I'd be spending Christmas alone in a house that was no longer mine, contemplating homelessness and betrayal. I did go to Deirdre's that evening. She took one look at my face and pulled me inside. What happened? I told her everything. She listened, her expression growing darker with every sentence. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. That's theft, she finally said. I don't care if it was technically legal. That's theft. Your father stole your inheritance to enable your brother's addiction. Addiction. I hadn't thought of it that way, but she was right. Gambling addiction. Business addiction. The compulsive need to chase the next big win, the next successful venture, always believing this time would be different. What are you going to do? Deirdre asked. I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to burn it all down. Go to the police. Sue them. Make them face consequences. But they're my family. They stopped treating you like family when they sold your house, Deirdre said bluntly. Family doesn't do this to each other. But maybe Dad's right, I said. Maybe I am strong enough to handle this, and Cormac isn't. Maybe that's my role in the family. The strong one who sacrifices so the weak one can survive. Listen to yourself, Deirdre said, gripping my hand. You're justifying their abuse. That's what this is. Financial abuse. Emotional abuse. They've trained you your whole life to accept less so Cormac can have more. When does it end? I don't know, I whispered. It ends now, she said firmly. It ends when you decide you matter just as much as he does. When you decide your security and happiness are just as important as his. I spent Christmas Day at Deirdre's house with her family. They were kind, welcoming, didn't ask too many questions. But I felt hollow. Me. Kept checking my phone. Part of me hoping Dad or Cormac would call. Apologize. Offer to make it right. The phone stayed silent. The day after Christmas, I called a lawyer. Her name was Siobhan Hayes. I'd found her through an online search for property law attorneys. She listened to my story, asked pointed questions, took notes. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. This is complicated. The power of attorney issue is going to be the central question. If it was legally valid, if it hadn't been explicitly revoked, then technically your father had the authority to act on your behalf. But I never intended for him to use it to sell my house, I protested. That document was 7 years old. It was for a specific purpose. Intent matters, she agreed. But proving that in court is difficult. The bigger issue is that the sale has already gone through. The property has a new legal owner who purchased in good faith. Unwinding that sale would be extremely complicated and expensive. So what are my options? Asked. You could sue your father and brother for the difference between what the house sold for and its actual market value, she said. You'd have a decent case for financial exploitation, especially given your father's age and the family dynamics involved. But lawsuits like this take years. They're expensive. They're emotionally devastating. And there's no guarantee you'd win. What would you do? Yes. If it was your family. She smiled sadly. I'd be sitting exactly where you are, trying to decide if justice is worth destroying my family over. I thanked her and left. I had a decision to make. Over the next week, I went through the stages of grief. Denial was brief. I'd seen the paperwork. Anger lasted days. I raged alone in my house, threw things, screamed into pillows. Bargaining came next. Maybe I could work something out with the new owner. Maybe I could buy the house back. But I didn't have that kind of money. I was a nurse, comfortable but not wealthy. I had maybe 20,000 in savings. Not nearly enough. Depression settled in like a fog. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I went to work and went through the motions, but I felt like I was underwater, everything muffled and distant. And then, slowly, came acceptance. Not acceptance of what they'd done. That would never be acceptable. But acceptance that I couldn't change it. The house was gone. I could spend years in court, tens of thousands in legal fees, and maybe get a judgment against my father and brother. But they didn't have money. Dad was retired on a fixed income. Cormac was unemployed. I'd win a worthless piece of paper and destroy my family in the process. Or I could let it go. Not forgive. I wasn't ready for that and might never be. But let go of the house. Let go of the anger. Let go of the need for revenge. Mid-January I called Dad. He answered immediately. Brigid. Thank God. I've been so worried. I'm not calling to reconcile, I said quickly. I'm calling to tell you what's going to happen. Okay, he said quietly. I'm not suing you, I said. I'm not going to the police. Not because you don't deserve it, but because I'm not willing to destroy what's left of this family over money. I heard him exhale. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me, I interrupted. I'm not done. I'm not suing you, but I'm also not forgiving you. What you did was theft. It was betrayal. You and Cormac chose his immediate crisis over my long-term security. You chose to enable his addiction over respecting Mom's wishes. That's what happened. Don't pretend it was anything else. I'm sorry, Dad said, and this time he sounded like he meant it. I'm so sorry. I thought I was protecting my son. I didn't think about what I was doing to my daughter. You never do, I said. You've spent my entire life prioritizing Cormac. His needs, his feelings, his problems. I was the easy child. The responsible one. So I got less attention, less help, less consideration. And I accepted it because I loved you and I didn't want to be a burden. But I'm done accepting it. What does that mean? Ed asked. Means I'm going no contact, I said. With you and with Cormac. I need space to figure out who I am outside of this family dynamic. I need to rebuild my life without you taking from me. For how long? Dad's voice cracked. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe forever. Maybe until you understand what you did. Maybe until Cormac gets help for his addiction. I don't know. What about the kids? Ed asked. Aoife and Lorcan miss you. It hurt. It hurt more than I expected. I'll send them birthday presents, I said. But I can't see them right now. I can't sit at family dinners and pretend everything's fine. Please don't do this, Dad begged. You're my daughter. Love you. You should have thought about that before you sold my house, I said and hung up. I cried after that call. Sobbed like I hadn't since Mom died. Because I was grieving again. Grieving the family I thought I had. The father I thought would protect me. The brother I thought loved me. I found a small apartment across town. 1 bedroom, older building, nothing special. But it was mine. Really mine. I signed the lease, paid the deposit, moved in at the end of January. The day before I left the house on Ashford Lane, I walked through every room one last time. I stood in my old bedroom where I dreamed childhood dreams. The kitchen where Mom had taught me to bake. The living room where we'd opened Christmas presents every year. The backyard where Dad had pushed me on a swing he'd built himself. All those memories. All that love. And they'd sold it for $68,000. I locked the door behind me for the last time and didn't look back. It's been 8 months now. 8 months in my little apartment. 8 months of therapy, working through the betrayal and the grief. 8 months of no contact with Dad or Cormac. Deirdre asked me recently if I regretted my decision not to sue. I thought about it carefully before answering. No, I finally said. I don't regret it. Because suing them wouldn't have given me back the house. It wouldn't have undone the betrayal. It would have just prolonged the pain, kept me tied to them through anger and legal battles. This way I'm free. Free to build a new life. Free to create new memories that aren't tied to that house or that family. Free to be Brigid Murphy, not Cormac's sister or Finn's daughter. Just me. My therapist says I'm remarkably well adjusted for someone who experienced such a profound betrayal. I think she's being generous. Most days I'm fine. Some days I'm angry. Some days I'm sad. Some days I see a father and daughter laughing together in the grocery store and I have to leave before I start crying. But I'm healing. Slowly, painfully, but healing. Last week I got a letter, forwarded from my old address. From Cormac. I almost threw it away without opening it. But curiosity won. It was an apology. A real one. Not the defensive justifications he'd given before. He'd started going to Gamblers Anonymous. He'd gotten a job, nothing glamorous, just warehouse work, but steady. He was trying to be better. He understood now what he'd taken from me. He didn't expect forgiveness. He just wanted me to know he was sorry. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'll respond. Maybe someday I'll be ready to hear his apologies and Dad's excuses and their promises to do better. Maybe someday I'll let them back into my life, with boundaries and conditions and the understanding that trust, once broken this completely, can never fully be repaired. But not today. Today I'm focused on me. On building a life that's mine that no one can take away. I'm saving for a down payment on a condo. Something small but permanent. Something with my name on the deed and no one else's. Something I'll never have to wonder if I really own. I've started dating someone. His name is Oisin. He's a teacher. Kind, stable, emotionally available. Everything my ex wasn't. I haven't told him the full story yet, but I will. When I'm ready. When I trust that he won't look at me differently. Won't see me as the victim of my family's cruelty. Because that's the thing about betrayal like this. It doesn't just steal your house or your money. It steals your ability to trust. It makes you question every relationship, every kindness, every gesture of love. If your own father and brother could do this to you, who can't? But I'm learning to trust again. Slowly, carefully, starting with myself. Trusting that I can survive this. That I can build something new from the rubble of what was destroyed. That I am more than what was done to me. Someone asked me at work the other day if I'd be spending Christmas with family this year. Said no. She looked sorry for me like I was missing out on something important. But I'm not. I'm protecting something important. Myself. My peace. My future. This Christmas, I'll be with Deirdre and her family again. Maybe Oisin will join us. I'll eat too much food, exchange modest presents, and watch children open toys with uncontained joy. And I'll be grateful. Not for what was taken but for what remains. My strength. My resilience. My ability to stand up and say no more. My choice to let go of the anger without letting them back in. My determination to build a life defined by what I create, not what was stolen. Last Christmas Eve, my family betrayed me in the worst possible way. They stole my home, my inheritance, my trust. They taught me that blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. That family can hurt you worse than strangers ever could. That sometimes the people who should protect you are the ones you need protection from. But they also taught me something else. Something they didn't intend. They taught me that I'm stronger than I knew. That I can survive losing everything and still get up the next morning. That I can choose my own family from the people who show up for me, who value me, who would never dream of taking from me what isn't theirs. I miss my mom every day. I miss the mom who left me that house because she wanted me to have stability and security. The mom who saw my worth and wanted to honor it. I like to think she'd be proud of how I've handled this. Proud that I stood up for myself. proud that I chose my own well-being over family obligation. The house on Ashford Lane sold last month. Eileen Thornton renovated it beautifully, according to the listing photos I couldn't help but look at. She got $240,000 for it. Someone else is making Christmas memories there now. Someone else is baking in my mother's kitchen. Someone else is sitting in that living room, probably with a tree in the corner where ours always stood. I hope they're happy there. I hope they love it the way I did. I hope they never know what it's like to have it stolen by the people who are supposed to love you most. And me. I'm okay. Not perfect. Not healed completely. But okay. I'm building something new. Something that's mine. Something no one can take. That's my story. That's what happened last Christmas Eve when I discovered my dad sold my house to pay my brother's debts. It broke me for a while. But I'm putting myself back together. Different than before, maybe harder in some ways, but also clearer about what I deserve and what I won't accept. If you're going through something similar, if your family has betrayed you or stolen from you or chosen someone else's needs over yours again and again, I want you to know something. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to choose yourself. You're allowed to grieve the family you thought you had while protecting yourself from the family you actually have. Blood doesn't entitle anyone to hurt you. Love doesn't require you to accept abuse. Family should be the people who build you up, not the ones who tear you down to lift someone else. I'm Brigid Murphy. I lost my house. But I found myself. And in the end, that might be worth more. If this story resonated with you, if you've experienced family betrayal or financial abuse, please share your story in the comments. You're not alone. None of us are alone in this. And please don't forget to tell me what city you're watching from. I meant it earlier when I said I want to send you a hug. We could all use a little more kindness in this world, especially from people who understand what it's like to lose everything and have to start over. Subscribe if you haven't already. There are more stories coming. More truth. More survival. More proof that we're all stronger than we think, even when the people we love try to convince us otherwise. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for witnessing my pain and my healing. Matters more than you know. This is my story. This is my truth. This is how I survived last Christmas Eve.